What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another weather forecast here. And as you guys can tell, this is going to be another monthly forecast. I've actually been slacking a little bit on monthly forecasts, and I do apologize for that. But I was actually going to post this yesterday, but I had a lot of homework and all that, so I ended up posting it today here. So I do apologize for that as well. But this is going to be the monthly forecast for December here. So it's going to be the general overall forecast with temperatures, precipitation, and general forecast for the month of December. But without further ado, let's get into the forecast. So here's looking at the general precipitation forecast. So this is going to be determining whether you'll be seeing overall the month of December below average precipitation, which is going to be rain, snow, freezing rain, or above average precipitation here, which will obviously be snow, rain, and freezing rain, all of that type of precipitation there. That's exactly what this forecast map will be determining here. So let's go and check a look now at the slightly below average precipitation. That's going to be very widespread across much of the central and western United States here. This December, we are going to be seeing a El Nino type pattern, and that's going to be the 1 month this winter where we will see this type of pattern, because after this, January, February, and March will be like a La Nina pattern, but it's going to be the 1 month where the East Corridor could actually see a actual winter, but after December, it'll kind of die off from there. But in the slightly below average precipitation, that's in the first shade of brown. So it's kind of a slight brownish color, like a dark peach. That's going to be very widespread across areas in the Midwest and Central Plains. With this pattern, we're not going to be seeing too much moisture coming in these areas, including snowstorms. So you won't really see too much snow in these areas this December. Obviously, it won't be below average snowfall. It will be kind of mostly average snowfall for these areas. But it won't be above average. So it's going to be your typical snow that you usually see in the month of December. That's kind of expected there. But that will change by January, February, and March, where you can get way above average snowfall in some of these areas here. So it's not that you're not going to get some of these areas or rain. It's just going to be slightly below average by a few inches here. And that will most likely have to go with the rain. The snow will most likely stay at its typical average forecast for the month of December. In the second shade of below average precipitation, that is moderately below average there, and that's going to be including more to the west, including the Four Corner states, all the way up to areas near Montana. That's exactly where we're seeing kind of the center of really very little precipitation. Not going to be seeing too many snowstorms coming in these areas here. Not going to be seeing too many rainstorms in these areas that would come from snowstorms. Really, the typical snow will kind of come towards the Midwest and come from areas in the northern Rockies, and it won't really be massive until the Great Lakes and Midwest and Plains. So that's kind of what we're expecting throughout this December here. Now, let's look at the slightly above average precipitation. It's going to be for much of the East United States here, which is exactly why this has a chance of bringing in some snow this month, has a chance of bringing snow for a lot of people that aren't expecting too much snow this season because of La Nina pattern. So this can be the 1 month where we can get above average precipitation across much of the eastern United States, like a general El Nino year. So take advantage of this month. Coming from a person living in Georgia here, I would definitely take advantage of this month here. We're going to be seeing slightly above average precipitation, including rain, snow, freezing rain, sleet, all of that, all the way from Florida up to Maine here. So definitely, if it meets with the cold front, there will definitely be some good snow events, possibly all the way from the southeast up across the Appalachians and the New England area. So definitely something to keep in mind there. Also, I was just talking about the temperatures here. Here is the temperature outlook here, and this is also going to be determining whether you'll be seeing average temperatures, above average temperatures, or below average temperatures here. But let's go ahead and start off with the below average temperatures here. So again, it's kind of looking like an El Nino year. This isn't really what was in my winter forecast, but again, December, most of the month is actually still fall, which is kind of hard to believe. You think December is winter, but really the winter doesn't start until the last week of actual December, so this is still technically fall and a little bit of winter here. So this is kind of what we're looking at for the month of December here, overall the 4 weeks. So the below average temperatures, let's start off with the light blue shade. The light blue shade is slightly below average temperatures here, so a few degrees below average. You could get what that really means, that slightly below average temperatures, means you're going to be seeing overall the 4 weeks of December more cold fronts than warm fronts. But there is still going to be warm fronts in these areas for the month of December. It's just there's going to be more frequent cold fronts than warm fronts, which will help generate the average temperatures to be below average. And that's going to be below average there for areas all the way from Texas down to Florida up to Maine in the light blue shade, looking at maybe 2 to 4 degrees below average in the general 4 weeks of the whole month of December. Now, if we go in the second shade of blue, that's going to be moderately below average temperatures, and that's where we're going to be seeing very good chances for snow. Well, obviously not some areas like Florida and southern Mississippi. Obviously, you know what I mean. There's still going to be some chances for snow in these areas like Georgia, Tennessee, Carolina, up to Massachusetts there, but obviously not Florida or southern Alabama or the coast of the Carolinas. But yeah, that's where we're seeing in general more than 4 degrees below average in the whole month of December here. And I'm already having a cold start to December here. We obviously saw snow showers on the night of December 1st, so it was already a welcoming start to December. So that's going to be slightly below average, moderately below average, so going to be seeing less frequent warm fronts than the areas in the light blue. Let's look now at the above average temperatures, and the same thing applies for the warm front or for the above average. Just because you're above average doesn't mean you're not going to get cold fronts. It's just going to be a lot less frequent than they typically will be in the average December for these areas. So it's going to be in the overall 4 weeks of December, it will be slightly warmer or moderately warmer compared to your average, but there still could be a few cold fronts, but they won't be severe or they won't be frequent here. So let's take a look now at the slightly above average temperatures, and that's going to be very widespread, just like the precipitation. It's kind of matching up there. Above average precipitations near the cold, and the drier area is next to the warmth, which is exactly why it'll be somewhat average to below average snowfall for some of these areas, and possibly below average snowfall for these areas up in the eastern corridor. But if you're in that slightly above average, it's going to be around 2 to 4 degrees above average in the general month. So it's not going to be too shabby, but it'll be a little shabby once you get into the areas of the moderately above average, which was going to be containing all the way from California to areas like Wyoming and the Four Corner states there. That's where it'll be more noticeable heat here. So definitely not going to be the best December, but obviously it's La Nina year, so it's not going to be fun for these southwestern areas until probably El Nino year. But let's look now at my general forecast here. So this is my general forecast for the month of December here. So let's go and start off now with the colder than usual on that blue shade of color there in the southeast, all over from Texas, all of the Gulf Coast to the Carolina coast. We are expecting colder than usual. So again, there's going to be some decent and frequent cold front in these areas, and obviously some of these areas in the colder than usual could actually get maybe flurries, maybe some wintry mix. Obviously Windstorm Benji was a shock in December, so I mean it's not like there's going to be a big snowstorm like that because 2017 was El Nino, but this is going to possibly bring in some really cold air that you don't typically see in these areas in the month of December. So obviously these areas do get cold, but not the cold we're expecting this December. And the white color for the East United States, we're looking at snow chances. So that's very widespread, all the way from Arizona to not Arizona, all the way from Arkansas. I meant to say Arkansas. Imagine if it was from Arizona though. All the way from Arkansas to up to Maine. So really following the Appalachians, following the general eastern corridor there. So definitely some snow chances for some of these areas in the white. In the purple color, we are seeing average snow. So that's going to be including the Great Lakes where we just saw Windstorm Dane. It's going to be average snows. If anything, it's going to be slightly below average, but the best bet is it's going to stay average here. There will be some frequent dry fronts there, some dry pockets in these areas throughout the month of December. Not going to be seeing too much precipitation, but for some of these areas in the southern part of this region, we will be getting some slightly slightly above average temperature precipitation. To the west of that, we do have a kind of purple, kind of light pink color. That is average snow and cold, so it's going to be the average typical cold you see in these areas. So obviously the averages are very cold for December in these areas. So it's still going to be very cold December, but it's going to be kind of towards slightly above average to around average to these areas. And like I just said in the intro, it's going to be average snow for these areas as well. So it really won't be disappointing because the snowfall totals average and average temps are extremely cold and high for these areas. So really shouldn't be a bust for anything like that. And to the south of that, we do in the hot pink color, a wintry mix. So that's me including the south central, Louisiana, northern Louisiana, much of northern Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas. These areas do typically see some small ice events throughout the month of December, but there is a likelihood that the chances for that are higher. So with that typical pattern we're looking at, so we do have obviously the cold air there when we're seeing the above temps, the above average precipitation there in the cold temps. So there is likelihood that we could very well see some wintry mix, because since these areas are kind of the border of the warm and the cold, so it really won't be too big of a snow event. That'll be kind of to the east of that where it actually is a lot colder, but as you go more to the west, it'll get warmer and drier. So it's going to be really wet and cold here, but as you go more to the west, the regions will have less snow. For example, the south central, they're going to be seeing snow, mainly some ice, and then to the west of that, in the warmer and drier, in the red, there's going to be very little snow. There will be snow in these areas, or some of these areas, obviously not LA, not El Paso, or El Paso, not going to be really Phoenix, but areas like Flagstaff, areas like northern Nevada, some of these areas will get snow, but it's going to be generally warmer and drier. In the other white region here in the west, we're going to be seeing the typical mountain snow. It's going to be, if anything, below average there, so really won't be seeing too big cross-country snowstorms like we usually see. It's going to be up there in the yellow region, slightly drier, so it's going to be slightly drier. It's going to be close to average, basically. It's just going to be a tad drier and a tad warmer for some of these areas. And then, last but not least, in the Pacific Northwest, we do have average, just your average December. But hope you guys enjoyed the video, and bye, guys.